This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Wild. Sounds of hockey.
The puck talk.
Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
The puck talk. Oh my gosh. Above average. What are we talking about again? The puck talk.
Let's just say any day's a great day to be a hockey fan, but on the morning of opening night, there's just a little something special in the air, and that includes today. Kevin Falness, Brett Blakemore in for Paul Allen and Eric Nordquist, 9 to noon on KFAN. And that means we're going to do a whole lot of hockey over the course of the next 3 hours. And let's jump right into it. Tonight, the Wild open the regular season in St. Louis. Pregame at 6:45 right here on FM 100.3 The Fan. And the head coach of the Minnesota Wild is John Hynes. He's out there in St. Louis ready to battle with the Blues. John, Kevin Falness, good morning and welcome to day one of the regular season.
Yeah, good morning, Kevin. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. What a training camp it was. What a preseason it was. You're a guy that loves to teach. You love the training camp. I heard you just barking orders yesterday during practice. I mean that in the most respectful way possible. But I know you enjoy that aspect of it. But are you happy that day one is finally here?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think when you go into training camp, it's really an opportunity. I think to instill the structure you want to play with, the mindsets, the identities, and it's nice because you have probably the most opportunity throughout the NHL season where you can really practice and push the guys, and you have the time to be able to do those things day in and day out. So I think we've taken advantage of our opportunity in training camp. I think the players have pushed themselves and have made the camp intense by their work ethic and their willingness to put the work in and day out. And then now it's really exciting, right? We get to the end of we're prepared, which is a good feeling, but now you get to go and compete for real. So it's an exciting day.
What's special about opening night?
Well, yesterday was like Christmas Eve, and today's like Christmas Day, right? The anticipation to go. It's the start of a new journey. It's the start of a new season. We're competing for real now, with the standings. So that's what makes it all exciting. You put all the hard work in the off season and the training camp, and now the regular season journey begins. So it's exciting.
I know you're excited for the home opener come Saturday when the Wild open up against the Columbus Blue Jackets, first of 41 games on home ice. But tonight, you're in St. Louis. Tom Reed's theory is opening on the road takes the pressure off the visitor. It puts it on the shoulders of the home team. Do you buy into that? Why don't we try and redial Mr. John Hynes?
I got you.
We got you back.
I got you.
Yeah. I was just talking about opening on the road. It takes a little pressure off the visitor. Do you buy into that?
I think each team, the home team has a lot of, there's a lot of things that go around it. Usually they have they come in on the carpet and there's a lot of fanfare and things like that. I think when you come in as a visiting team, it's no different than any other road game. But, I think the challenge for both teams in game one is, I think there's going to be a lot of emotion. There's going to be a lot of juice in the game. So I think it's having the right focus and coming out, playing fast, playing on our instincts and doing the things that make us a strong team.
I don't know how far into the weeds you want to get with your lineup decisions, but looking at practice yesterday, it looked like the rookie Hunter Haight will make his NHL debut tonight in that center ice position on the fourth line with the absence of Nico Sturm. Can you declare he's ready to make his NHL debut?
Yeah, we have just a couple of decisions to make. Like, we're at the rink now. The players will be over here in a little bit. We'll have a morning skate, so we just we'll make a couple final decisions here probably within an hour.
Whether Haight debuts or not, what did you like about him in training camp, and what have you heard about his resume coming into what promises to be a promising career, whether it begins tonight or not?
Yeah, Hunter came in. He had a really good camp. I think last year. He had a good season in Iowa. As a young player, I think a 20-year-old, he scored 20 goals. But probably more importantly, he played in every situation. He played the power play, played on the penalty kill. He's got a great competitive nature to him. He's a smart player, and he came into camp. He looked strong. He moved well. We used him in a lot of different situations, and he played well. So it's nice when you have a player that's his second year pro has come in and pushed in training camp for an opportunity to play.
Yeah, those young faces pushing for playing time within your system. Bill Guerin did make a couple of tweaks to the lineup and bringing in Tarasenko and Nico Sturm. But for the most part, his busy work was signing those extensions. Kaprizov, Rossi, plus locking down your number one guy. I know the future's bright for Jesper Wallstedt as well, but how important was it to get Philip Gustafsson locked up, and how happy are you for him?
Yeah, it was really important. I think Philip's really grown, and I think when you look at the year that he had last year, he's one of the top goalies in the league. But I think when you make a commitment to a number one goalie for those years, he's got the right work ethic, he's got the right demeanor. You want your goaltender similar to like a quarterback. Just they have it's a very important position. You can't win without them playing at a high level, but getting the team to play hard in front of you, and his demeanor and some of the swagger that he has, the way that he's practiced, like he's really developed into a guy that we believe can win us games night in and night out. So happy for him and his family, but it's also great for our team.
Talking to the head coach of the Minnesota Wild, John Hynes, just a couple more before we get him out there ready for the morning skate. Wild taking on the Blues tonight in St. Louis. Pregame starts at 6:45. Puck drops at precisely 7:14 here in the Central Time Zone. Let me go to your top line again. Lineup decisions to be made, but at least what I saw in the preseason with Rossi in between Kaprizov and Boldy, that trio was electric. How excited are you for the potential of those three and the magic they can put together?
Yeah, very, very excited about those guys. I think that all three have come back in great shape and made strides over the summer in their fitness level, and have come into camp, whether it's in practice or the exhibition games. They've played well. They got a great work ethic. I think they're offensive threats, but they play a style of game that they're hard to play against. They're good on both sides of the puck. They play a lot of key situations for us, so I'm excited to see those guys again tonight.
All right, last one. You're going to St. Louis, taking on a team from the Central Division. This division is going to be a gauntlet. St. Louis is going to be right there in the thick of things. You just know it. What are you up against tonight when you look at a Blues team that, if I remember correctly, you took 3 of 4 against last year, including both games in St. Louis?
Yeah, St. Louis is a good team. I think that they, you see how they finished the season last year. I think they have, some good young players. They play a quick, fast game. They're a good transition team. They're good off the line rush. So it's going to be a challenge. We gotta make sure that, we're focused on ourselves and icing the best game that we can play. And I think if we do that, it's going to be a highly competitive game. And, we're looking forward to getting started and putting our best game on the ice here tonight.
To me, you strike me as a guy that's pretty flatline. There's not real high ups, real high lows, at least not what we see visually out in front of us. Is there something special about opening night? Will there be butterflies even though you're not playing? You're just behind the bench. You've got a pretty important job. But are there nerves going into game 1 of 82?
Yeah, for sure. I think every game you get a little bit excited and you get some butterflies, particularly opening night, because you haven't played a game yet, and you're anxious to see your team play and all the work and preparation that the coaches and players put in, and now we're playing for real. But I think it's healthy, and that's part of our jobs. You get excited for games and you get some butterflies. I think it's healthy. It keeps you on your toes, and I'm certainly excited for tonight as well as our team.
John, thanks for doing this on a game day. Good luck tonight in St. Louis. Good luck this season.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
There you go. The head coach of the Minnesota Wild, John Hynes, out there in St. Louis, and we're ready for game number 1 of season number 25, Brett. The Wild taking on the Blues. Again, pregame at 6:45, right here on FM 100.3 The Fan. You're home for Minnesota Wild hockey. Puck will drop at 7:14 from St. Louis. And, yeah, I mean, I know there wasn't a lot done in the offseason in terms of tweaking this lineup, but they bring in a veteran presence like a Vladimir Tarasenko, who only has upside. You also have Nico Sturm, who unfortunately is injured right now. Doesn't look like he's going to play anytime in the near future. No Mats Zuccarello, Jonas Brodin, another one of those question marks going into tonight. But I know you, of all people, definitely love the fact that there's young faces pushing for spots in the lineup, starting tonight, in fact.
I love seeing young faces get an opportunity, and it's unfortunate that it comes at the price of Zuccarello being hurt and Nico Sturm being hurt, but that's your chance if you're Yurov or an Ogren to get into this lineup. And I really hope, I know they're probably not going to play Yurov and Ogren at the same time, so one of them, most likely Yurov, is going to be in the press box tonight, which does upset me. But, it still is an opportunity, and I hope that they don't, they get more than 7 minutes tonight on the fourth line between the two of them. Because, I get the McBeckman when Pat Micheletti comes in, but I think a guy like Yurov, who played really well and showed a lot of promise in a league in the KHL that's pretty damn good and is against grown men, it's not college. That and Ogren, who's been playing well in the American League, it's easy to root for those guys to kind of come up and get, because we need depth scoring. It can't just be all on Kaprizov and Boldy in that top line.
Though, I'll say this much, both of them, and speaking of Ogren and Yurov in particular, they had an opportunity to grab a spot. They could have been in the top 6 on opening night. Now, it doesn't matter. Even if you were cut, like Hunter Hayes, if you're cut going into game number 1, that doesn't say anything about game number 2 through 82. You can be called up at any time, and especially the way things work on this team in particular, it's a very fluid situation. So I don't think, you cast a spell upon their entire career based on the fact that they're not in the opening night lineup. But it's too bad because Yurov and Ogren, they were begging for them to grab that second line spot. They didn't do enough to grab it, and so now you got Marcus Foligno playing in the top 6.
I'm never afraid to be out on a limb and be by myself with Wild Talkers, and it seems like I'm even more so out on a limb for this one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the preseason games are enough of a look to give them. I would have liked.
But they're watching them in training camp. They're watching them. It's more than just those games that you saw them in the preseason.
I understand, and you see them in practice, and you see the all 22 or the all 11, whatever you want to say. I don't know. I would have liked to at least see him get a look in the regular season before you just cut him off completely. But I get you can't give up points, and I just don't buy that they would be such a liability at that spot that you would be giving away points to start the regular season. But it's fine. It's not a felony. It's not a war crime. I'd say it's a minor misdemeanor, and you'd let it go.
Things change real quick. I mean,
that's true.
The plan was for Nico Sturm to be your fourth line center. We know how important he was going to be to this lineup. And now instead, Hunter Hayes gets to make his NHL debut. You're going to get to see Liam Ogren tonight. Danila Yurov's day is coming. I just don't know that it's here yet. He looks really green. And it's not even just the hockey, because I think defensively, he's not a liability. He just didn't produce any type of a spark offensively. But once he gets comfortable with his surroundings, this is a whole new world for this kid. He's 22 years old. He's in a new country, surrounded by people speaking a weird language, and he's just becoming comfortable with himself, let alone the hockey, which he has to add on top of that. I think at some point it's going to click for him, and it took a long time for Jules Eriksson Ek. It took a long time for Mikko Koivu, for crying out loud. It's a different world coming over here from what you're used to, and I think once it clicks, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not calling for Yurov to activate his Europe clause and go back just because he didn't make the opening night starting lines. I would argue that we have a lot of guys that don't show a lot of offensive spark, but are really responsible defensively, so you'd fit right in. But still, I understand. I'm not that hop and mad about it.
All right, so
am I wrong?
No, you're definitely right. In Brett Blakemore's world, you are definitely on the money. We've got an action-packed 3 hours coming your way, and honestly, I could do 3 hours of hockey in the middle of the summer, and I've done it. But on opening night in particular, we're probably going to put the brakes on the football, the basketball, the baseball, the lacrosse, the soccer. This is going to be 3 hours of intense hockey coverage because we're at opening night. We made it. We made it through the offseason. I know the Gophers have already played. I know that you've got preseason hockey under our belt. 6 games of preseason hockey. But now what we're going to do is turn the page and get ready for the regular season because it begins for real tonight. Free game at 6:45 FM 100.3 The Fan, live from St. Louis. Your home for all things Minnesota Wild hockey right here on KFAN. A great lineup coming your way. If you want to talk hockey, you'll get your opportunity. 9:35, we got Pat Micheletti. 10:35, Joe O'Donnell, the voice of the Minnesota Wild. 10:55, America's favorite blogger, Michael Russo of The Athletic and TheAthletic.com. And we're going to finish it off the way we've been doing, saluting 25 years of Wild hockey. I'm calling him our Beyond the Pond NHL insider now. Pat Micheletti doesn't know this, but this is the way it's going to be. Cal Clutterbuck is one of the big names in the history of Minnesota Wild hockey, and he'll join us at 11:35 to talk about the state of hockey. So it should be fun. And then on top of all of that, you're like, Falness, don't do this to me. I can only take so much. You're going to give us hockey overload. Well, too bad, so sad, my friend. Because on top of all of that, I'm also giving away tickets. And that includes for the home opener, Saturday night in St. Paul. Wild hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets. What an evening that's going to be at now Grand Casino Arena. You want tickets? This is your opportunity, big boy. This is what I want. It couldn't be any easier. I'm going to ask for talkbacks. You can do the texts, and those are fun. I absolutely throw those at me as well. But talkbacks would be my preference. And we're going to give away tickets because all you're going to do is give me some predictions. Predictions for whatever you want it to be. It can be real. It can be funny. It can be anywhere in between. What do you think of Kirill Kaprizov's season? What are you expecting from him? How about the Minnesota Wild? Do they make it out of the first round for the first time in a decade? What do you feel about Marco Rossi? Is Brett Blakemore ever going to give up waving the banner for the 2028 lineup? And can he live in the here and now? Lots of things for you to jump on board with your talkbacks and your texts, whatever you may have got. But we're giving away tickets. And you want to go down there and see the Wild and Blue Jackets. It's going to be a fun night, Saturday night in St. Paul, as they hopefully push that record to 2-0. So we got a lot of great stuff coming your way. Don't go anywhere. It continues after a break on The Fan.
Before we go, The Fan and 2 men and a junk truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks for the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is grand. Keyword grand. KFAN.com. Keyword grand.
Hey, Falness. Austin from Lino Lakes. I believe Kaprizov's going to hit the 100-point threshold along with surpassing Gabrick by the time of Thanksgiving for most goals in a single career, as well as the Wild, with the roster that they have, is going to end up making it out of the second round. And I'm going to be following Brett Blakemore here and say that they are going to be needing to add some youth to the lineup in order for that to happen.
Thank you for those talkbacks. Keep them rolling in, and we'll play those sporadically throughout the course of the next 3 hours, and we'll throw some random tickets your way. I've got a handful. I got to check my pocket. 1, 2, 3. I got a ton. I got a lot of tickets for Saturday night's home opener in St. Paul. You can get your own tickets at wild.com/tickets. Get on down to XL. Oh, gosh. I already did it.
Old habits die
That's
hard.
4 times now through the preseason that I've made that slip up. It's hard to get used to Grand Casino Arena. I think it will happen. The problem is, 25 years of saying the other arena name, it's hard to get out of your brain.
Well, they still sponsor the power play. It's not like you can't say
They sponsor the big save of the game in the post-game show. But yeah, it's hard to break those habits. So anyway, keep those coming in. We've got, we'll throw those at you as we go throughout the course of the program. Also got a couple of tickets for Monday night, game number 2 on home ice when the Wild host the LA Kings. Great schedule to start the season. So again, get on down to Grand Casino Arena, wild.com/tickets. Get yours today. I was thinking, I love listening to Common Man, Brett, and he does a great bit with the wheel of topics. It just feels like that thing always stops on his golf game. And I think what needs to happen is I took it upon myself over the last few days to get in there and tinker with it. Now, I'm not the most handiest of people. Like when I did change the light bulb on my car, which I'm actually very proud of. Yeah, I had to disconnect some stuff and put some things in and press this button, and I got it in there. And I can do real minor repairs. But I got
if there's a YouTube tutorial, you're in.
I mean, that's the best thing that ever happened. That and GPS. Like, I couldn't drive anywhere without GPS, and I can't fix anything without YouTube.
Yep.
So I've definitely used that stuff. I got in there, and I looked up some directions on his wheel of topic, and I messed around with it a little bit. Why don't you see what you come up with? I hope I fixed it right. Because I love hearing about Common's golf game, but you don't want to hear about that from 9 to noon, or maybe you do. But let's hear what the wheel of topic sounds like now.
Yeah, we can spin it.
Wheel of Topics!
Boy, what if it just lands on Common's golf game?
Oh, my
anything
God.
to talk about. We weren't there.
We'll have to ask him.
Minnesota Wild.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Funny.
It worked, see? And I didn't even use YouTube for that. I got out my wrench and my pliers thingy, and I got in there and I worked some stuff out.
Additional slot.
All right, so Minnesota Wild. I'm excited about the season. I'm going to predict third place. We'll get into predictions later as well. But when I think about predictions, and that guy was talking about Kirill Kaprizov, I want to see 70 games from number 97. And if he gets there, he'll break the 100-point mark, no doubt about it. If I put his over-under at 45 goals, you take an over or under?
At 40,
It's 70 games played.
I feel like you have to go with the over.
I think you do too.
Yeah. He was so electric that, I mean, I think people forget because, you see the texters go, oh, he's injury prone. Oh, so I'm like, did you watch the form that he was in at the beginning of last year? It was electric. It's hard to bet against him.
He was an MVP candidate in
100%.
December before he went down and, ultimately missed half the season. He very much was. And you talk about a guy that was, for the most part, carrying a team. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov, and that's, I think, another reason why John Hynes should have been a candidate for Coach of the Year. Without Kirill Kaprizov, Jules Erikssonek, look at the guy, Jared Spurgeon, Jonas Brodin. Without those guys in the lineup, he still managed to get him into the playoffs. I know it took down to the final seconds of the regular season.
Literally.
to get that X by their name, but he got him there. And I think that says something for what they were able to accomplish. But again, back to the point of Kirill Kaprizov, I think 45 goals, 100 points is not fairy tale at all.
Do you think, I feel like Boldy and him need to split at some point, probably when Zuccarello comes back? Because you can't have that, you can't put your eggs all in one basket for that long. You can to start like they will now, and I think it's fine. Don't you think they need to split up eventually?
Most likely. And they probably will, because you're going to have, most likely, you get, again, we're talking in theory, but when Mats Zuccarello is at full strength, there's something special about that bond between Kaprizov and Zuccarello. That said, this can be a real impressive trio with Kaprizov and Boldy. I get what you're saying, spread the wealth and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Boldy and Ek play very well together as well.
Yep.
But there's something special between Zuccarello and Kaprizov. And if Zuccarello can get back to 100% and they can get that chemistry going, I think that's great to talk about, again, in theory. But if something sparks here and you're able to ride the 23-97-12 train, I think you ride that all the way home.
How much did you fix the wheel? Can we spin it again?
Spin it again. I tried. I think I did my best, but like I said, I'm not the handiest.
All right.
Wheel of Topics!
Wasn't hockey a second time?
Kirill Kaprizov's contract extension.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe I got this thing to work. Common's going to be, I hope I didn't break it for Common. Because that's kind of a thing. If he doesn't get to talk about his golf game, I'm going to be in some serious trouble.
There's going to be a lot more puck talk noon to 3, apparently.
That was an interesting pronunciation of Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah.
But
not foolproof.
Let's start with you. You handle this one. The Kirill Kaprizov's contract. I know it's been a hot button topic here the last few days, especially with McDavid signing for 12.5. Eichel and Kyle Connor both coming in well under the $17 million for Kirill Kaprizov. Did they overpay for number 97?
I don't think they did, because you have to think, and this is purely speculation, you have to think some other teams were talking in Theophanis' ear saying, hey, we'll pay you 19. Hey, We'll top that. We'll go even more. Pure speculation, but that's just what I'm assuming because that's how good Kaprizov is. You have to play. This is the price of superstars and keeping them on your team. And I get the obvious comeback to that is look at what Nick David did, and he took a team-friendly deal. I promise you, if they don't win a cup in those 2 years or 3 years, he's getting paid more than Kaprizov.
And he might fly the coop. He gave himself an opportunity to bail out of Edmonton in 2 years if he doesn't like the direction. I can't speak on behalf of Kirill Kaprizov and why it took $17 million at 8 years and $17 million to get him locked down. I can speak from what I think the philosophy is for Bill Guerin, Craig Leopold, and the rest of the group that made the decision to pay him that much. You couldn't afford not to. I mean, that would have been catastrophic for this franchise if they don't lock him up at whatever price it took, just because of the fact that he's he's a generational type of talent. And we see that here in Minnesota. I love me some Marian Gaborik. He's heads and shoulders above Marian Gaborik and what he can do. He's a top 5 player in the game today. And you don't just, if God forbid he walked, that would have been catastrophic. That would have been a wrecking ball right through the franchise. But even if you trade him, you're not going to get anything in return in what he can do for your team. They had to do it at whatever cost it took, and it could have been worse. $17 million is not an easy pill to swallow, but now he's locked up for the next 8 years, and who knows how the salary cap structure is going to go over the next few seasons. It's going up. That's the best part about it, and maybe this will be a little easier to swallow in year 2, 3, and 4.
You want to spin one more time?
You better hurry.
Yeah. I really don't know her.
Brett's golf game.
That
boy.
can't be right.
Obviously, I didn't fix it well enough.
Oh, man.
Tell me about your golf
Old
game.
habits die. I got to tell you, I went out with Common last week. I have the Common yips.
Okay.
I can't. I'll shoot mid-80s to low 80s by myself or with randoms. I get out with Common.
Yeah. Too much pressure.
I try to get out on it and try to, I'm telling you, I've improved. And I'll go after it, start duck hooking it, and then it all goes to hell.
Does he make fun of you, or does he have fun with it?
Oh, if I could golf like you, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And then the pressure builds.
Yep.
And then it's over.
Yep. I'll tell you this much. I got invited out to Minneapolis Golf Course about a week ago, and I haven't golfed there in like 30, 40 years. It was fine. I played well, the front 9, the back 9. I fell apart. But I will say, I think it's hole number 4 or number 5 on the street that lines I think it's Texas, on your way to the St. Louis Park Middle School. I hit my iron as perfect as I could. I thought I was short. I was 2 feet past the pin. I mean,
incredible.
But the problem is, and again, yawn sound effect, my backspin took me 6 feet to the right. I missed the birdie putt. That was really annoying. So I tried.
I was going to find, here it is.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, it sucked.
Let's spin it one more time.
Pat Micheletti being very patient as we wait to give him a call.
National Hockey League predictions.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. That
I
makes
can't
more
believe
sense.
So I go in there and I tinker. It's supposed to be all wild stuff, and they threw in some NHL. I'm really good at fixing these machines. Your
Not
predictions.
perfect.
How about your prediction? You know what? I watched a couple of games last night, and I was so excited for, I know opening night was 2 nights ago, but last night, the Battle of Alberta, I got to see the other game, too. I sat and watched, I think it was Kings and Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. 2 really good hockey games. Both go to overtime. Both end up in the shootout. So I'm up to almost midnight watching these games come to their conclusion. And one of them went like 7 rounds. I think it was the Calgary-Edmonton game, but just phenomenal hockey, seeing these teams back on the ice. It's hard to pick against Florida, and it's hard to pick against Edmonton. The problem with Edmonton, still, I'm not sold on their goaltending. Problem with Florida for me is Barkov's out half the season. If not more, probably 9 months out of the year. But that's still a loaded lineup. They're the 2-time defending Cup champs. Hard to go against Edmonton, Florida. How about you?
I feel like you got to go with the Oilers. I mean, it's the 3rd time the charm. It's just when you make a deal like that, if you're McDavid, you're putting your you-know-what on the table and saying, this is the time or else, basically. So it's hard to go with either them. Unfortunately, even Colorado could be in the mix.
Colorado's going to be so good.
Yeah,
I mean,
they are.
honestly, McKinnon, Makar. I mean, they still got the same. They don't have Ranton, but Natchez had a couple of goals on their opening night. I mean, they're going to be the Central Division, and then you look at the teams that are coming up from the bottom, and that includes in the Pacific. Now, I don't know that I would think of San Jose as a world beater yet. Anaheim, but Anaheim's an up and coming team. San Jose still has Macklin, Celebrini. I mean, there's some
Vegas. The salary cap just doesn't apply to them because they go get Mitch Marner and they extend Jack Eichel. I don't know where their money comes from.
Yep. And, another team to think about is Utah. Utah is another team that's bubbling out there. So we got to get to break. We're really late. Right. I hate keeping Pat Micheletti waiting, but
no, not that.
Yeah, I know. Keep those talkbacks coming though. We're going to use them throughout the course of the show. We've got tickets that we're giving away to opening night, the home opener come Saturday when the Wild host the Columbus Blue Jackets. You'll catch all the action not only then but also tonight when the Wild travel to St. Louis to drop the puck on game number 1 of 82. Talkbacks and Pat Micheletti when we continue on the Fan.
Hey, Falness, appreciate you guys doing this hockey talk. So as far as this season goes, I mean, last season we had one of the most electric playoffs efforts I've ever seen. I honestly thought we were winning it. Parksy was doing incredible. I just can't believe we were Nyquist foot away from probably winning that series. So the fact that effort was incredible showed me that this season is going to be a fun one, guys. We got KK signing. We had a great top line. Our depth is a little questionable. We need the young guys to step up. Let's go.
Man, I love that talkback, except for the fact that they picked an old scab, that offsides by Gustav Nyquist. You really had to bring that up once again. Oh, man. That wound had just healed, and now you just took a fork and you just stabbed it open once again. Unfortunately, that's not a great memory. Lots of great memories from last season. Hopefully lots of great memories coming from this season as well. Keep those talkbacks coming. Giving away tickets. Get your own at wild.com/tickets. To the phone lines we go, and my buddy Pat Micheletti, my co-host on Beyond the Pond, nice enough to give us a little bit of his time. Patrick, hello, good morning, and welcome to the regular season in terms of the National Hockey League.
Finally, right? It's about time. Watched that Los Angeles-Vegas game last night, and a lot of goals scored, Kevin.
There was. Yeah, it's very interesting to watch these teams compete. I was telling Brett, I sat up and I watched both of the late games, including the Battle of Alberta. Phenomenal hockey, back and forth. The Flames battle back from a 3-0 deficit. Both games go to overtime, and we end up in a shootout in both contests. One of them went 7 rounds.
Edmonton was up 3-0 in that game also.
Yeah.
So,
phenomenal.
Go figure, right?
Yeah, good. I do want to get to the NHL, want to talk about the Minnesota Wild, but I have to, since we got you on, and a lot of this is going to be the National Hockey League over the next 2.5 hours. I did want to talk about the Gophers, because I flip on my little television this past weekend, and I see you and the great Frank Mazzocco on my television screen. I know it culminated in a split with Michigan Tech, but how fun was it to not only be back on television, calling your favorite hockey team, but working alongside the phenomenal Mr. Frank Mazzocco?
Yeah, it was great to have Frank in. Jim was on assignment with the Vikings, and it's like Frank didn't miss a beat. He hadn't called a TV game in 15 years.
Amazing.
And Frank and I have worked on the radio side together, and so we kind of had some camaraderie and rhythm and all of that. But yeah, it was great. He did a great job, and it was a fun weekend.
That was behind the TV screen. On the ice, we see the Gophers split with Michigan Tech. What'd you take from the series?
Well, you never know going into the season, Kevin, what you're going to get. You've got a bunch of new kids coming in, and you look at their stats, and you look at you just read, and it's all on paper. And it looks good, but you don't know until you see it. And so, excuse me, for Minnesota, they're young. They're gonna take their lumps, and they're gonna give their lumps. And so, this early in the season, it's really you have to be patient. with their progression. They may take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but that's the case in college hockey throughout, every team, to be quite honest.
Well, but for Bob Motzko, the best part about it, and I know they lost a ton of firepower. I've seen the numbers, and it's crazy to think about the amount of firepower that left this team from last year to this year. But when you're the Minnesota Golden Gophers and you have the ability to pull guys in like Bob Motzko does, you don't rebuild. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but this is what the Golden Gophers are. You don't rebuild, you just reload. So how good will this team be? The latest polls have them at 12th in the nation. Do you buy into that? Are they too low? Is it about right, or should they be higher?
Well, again, if you ask me that question in January, I'll give you a definitive answer. Right now, it's just unknown. The good thing is their schedule starting tonight with Boston College, North Dakota next weekend, UMD the following weekend, and then Wisconsin on the road will tell you something. And it's going to make them grow up in quite a hurry, if you will. So, we're just going to have to see how these guys develop. I mean, they're a solid team. There's no question. They've got good goaltending, a little young on the D core, but we're just going to have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Again, it might be pretty early then to talk about the conference as a whole. But again, going by the polls, Michigan State ranked number 2 behind Western Michigan. Penn State up to number 4. Michigan at 9th. The conference obviously has evolved into a national power. How do you see it breaking down? And I feel like the Big Ten is to the Gophers what the Central Division is for the Minnesota Wild.
I'll tell you what I did. I had to give my power rankings for the Big Ten Network.
Beautiful.
A couple days ago, and I went Michigan State, Penn State, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Notre Dame in that order. Now, come January, that could be flipped. I think the Big Ten Conference this year is going to be so tight, I don't think you'll see, if any, sweeps on the road this year by any team. I just think the parity throughout the conference is going to be it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that schedule. You alluded to it. I was just checking that out. I didn't realize how big it is coming up. The home against Boston College, and that's tonight, right? Tonight and tomorrow?
Yep.
Followed by a series
tomorrow.
A series at North Dakota, then home against Minnesota Duluth, and you get to see your buddy Scott Sandelin before heading into Big Ten play. That's 3 weeks of really exciting hockey, whether you're in Grand Forks or at 3M Arena at Mariucci.
For sure. And, I think Bob set the schedule up thinking he was going to have Snuggerud, Renzel, Connor Kurth, Oliver Moore. Those guys all could have came back and they all signed. Good for them. So it's going to be a test. But you know what? To beat the best, you got to beat the best. You got to beat the best, and you will learn what you got to do. He'll know more about his team, and so they could win them all, and you'll be happy. They could lose them all, and you learn a lot and realize what you got to work on to get better.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, it's the voice of the great Pat Micheletti joining us here, filling in for Paul Allen on 9 to noon. Thanks for listening. Lots of hockey talk. And of course, we're getting back to the NHL. But since we're on the Gophers here, Patrick, I got to bring up Jackson Lacombe. I mean, a lot of these Gophers are going to get paid as they turn pros.
Yep.
But man, oh man, Jackson Lacombe is a beast, and he got paid. How he squeezed that much money out of Pat Verbeek, I don't know, but he's going to be a force along the blue line for the Anaheim Ducks.
And the thing is, there were a lot of question marks about him his rookie year. They were not sure that he was going to be able to play, at this level, at a high level, and they just stuck with him. And sure enough, I think it was just a matter of him getting comfortable. And once he got comfortable, did he ever take off? He was just fantastic a year ago for the Ducks, and now he's a cornerstone of that franchise. And Kevin, I think back to when we were doing Beyond the Pond, and I was touting Brock Faber maybe for the Hobie Baker, and Faber interrupted me and said, "Hey, you're talking about me? You better start talking about Jackson Lacombe because this kid is unbelievable." And sure enough, good for him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Good stuff. He gets a giant contract. But it looks like peanuts compared to what Kirill Kaprizov got as we make our way over to the National Hockey League and the Minnesota Wild. Opening night coming up tonight in St. Louis for the Wild, game number 1 of 82. And that's the big talker of around NHL circles, certainly here in Minnesota. The worry is put to rest. Kirill Kaprizov is here for the long haul, but the Wild had to pay. Biggest contract in NHL history, $17 million a year for 8 years. While McDavid, Connor, Eichel, they all signed for significantly less. What do you say to those who say Bill Guerin and the Wild overpaid for Kirill Kaprizov?
Well, look at it. McDavid signed for 2 years, right? So he's really given Edmonton 2 years to win the Cup. They were close, and they're right on the doorstep. And I believe Minnesota had to do this. I mean, there's no question, because they don't sign them, then they're going to trade them. And typically what happens, you end up losing in the trade.
They would have got fleeced.
Go back to the Gretzky trade from Edmonton to L.A. That was not a good trade for the Edmonton Oilers. And what they got in return, I go back, I can look it up, but I know Jimmy Carson was one of the guys, and, a few others. But, to me, that didn't make sense. They had to sign Kirill Kaprizov. It's unfortunate, the amount, but they had to do it. They had to do it.
Yeah, it would have destroyed the franchise if they saw number 97, God forbid, leave like Gabrick did. But even if you trade him, like you said, I thought the Fiala for Faber and Ogren trade ended up working really well for both teams. But I mean, Kaprizov is on a different stratosphere, and to think that you're going to get anything close to Kirill Kaprizov in return for in a trade, you're out of your mind. They had to do it. They got it done, and that's the best part about it. So you come into a new season.
You got to let it go, right? I mean, what's done is done, and I'm sure Bill Guerin and his staff have a plan going forward, and thank God it's with Kaprizov.
It is, and he had one hell of a year last season before he left with injury. MVP caliber season up until he got injured in December and then missed half the year. But that said, he looks fantastic in preseason hockey, looked great through training camp. He's ready to go. Unfortunately, 2 or 3 other key pieces are not. No Mats Zuccarello. Nico Sturm, say whatever you want about him being a fourth-line center. He was going to provide a very valuable role within this team in winning faceoffs and on the penalty kill. And then Jonas Brodin probably in the lineup tonight, but still a question mark throughout the course of most of training camp. That's kind of the cloud of the silver lining here going into the regular season. The injury bug is already prevalent.
Yeah, and they started out the year relatively healthy last year and had a great start. And, which really, I don't want to say solidify their playoff spot, but really put them in a good position to make the playoffs, and they did. Always critical to get off to a great start, Kevin. And unfortunately, it's going to be without 3 regulars. So what does that mean? These young kids are going to get a chance, and everyone's been begging for these young kids to get a chance. Well, now they're going to get it, and let's hope that they provide something.
It's too bad. I was talking with your buddy Brett Blakemore, Mick Eichel, during the course of the first hour.
What a contract he got.
He did get a heck of a contract. But we were talking about the fact that Ogren and Urov had an opportunity to seal their fate as a member of the top 6 in this lineup. It didn't come to fruition. They didn't show enough in training camp or during the preseason action. So unfortunately, it looks like Urov is going to be the odd man out tonight. Ogren's going to play on the 4th line, most likely with Hunter Haight, and instead it'll be Marcus Foligno elevated to a top 6 role. It's too bad. As much as we want to see these young faces, doesn't sound like they were ready to make that leap just yet.
Yeah, I think, the case with Urov, I think they're just going to bring him along slowly and let him get used to North American hockey. and put him in situations where he can succeed. That's my guess. I don't know their thought process, but that's what I'm guessing. It's a lot. This is game one, and he's sitting out game one. It's not the biggest thing in deal in the world. I think ultimately he will get his chance, and we know with injuries, Kevin, and there's just a lot going on. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
How about on that blue line? You've probably seen as much of Zeev Buium as anyone around here. A star for the University of Denver, or Denver University, I should say, DU. And then, of course, on the world stage, doing great things for the red, white, and blue. Comes in, makes his NHL debut during the playoffs last year, and now will make his regular season debut tonight in St. Louis. And it looks like he's going to be paired with the captain, probably quarterbacking the power play. You talk about a guy with huge upside. They are very excited about the new number 8.
I think we all should be. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. He believes in himself. I will say, Kevin, if there's one area that concerns me going forward with this team, is they have to stay healthy on the blue line, because there's not a lot of depth there. There's a lot of youth there. And, that scares me a little bit. I would not rush Brodin back in the lineup until I know he's 100% healthy. We saw what happened with Spurgeon last year. And so, but yes, back to Buium. He's going to get his opportunity, and we have to live with some of the early mistakes he might make, but his upside is very high.
Give me your predictions for the Wild this season. I'm on record saying I think they finish in the top 3 in the Central Division. I think they make it into the playoffs. I think they, and then who knows what happens from there. This is going to be just a ridiculous Central Division. The Western Conference is going to be a monster as well. And then to ultimately win the grand prize, man, it's going to take a monumental effort. But at the very least, I think the Wild get to the third spot in the Central behind Dallas and Colorado. What about you, Patrick? What are you predicting for the home team?
Well, my prediction is if with a healthy team they make the playoffs. Any type of significant injury to any of their defensemen, or even a top forward like a Boldy or Kaprizov or Eck or any. They're just too thin there, in my opinion. So they stay healthy, they're in. Any type of injury, they're not.
Putting the over under for
That's fair?
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I mean, look at what it did to him last year. And again, I make the argument that John Hynes should have been a candidate for Coach of the Year for what he did, getting this team into the playoffs despite those injuries.
Kevin, one thing, and this is regarding John Hynes and his staff and their ability. If you think of some of the games that they played last year, how shorthanded they were, and battled and won. They don't quit, no matter who is in the lineup. So you have to take that into consideration also when kind of looking at this team. They play hard all the time.
Last one for you. Well, actually, 2 more. I want to get back to Kaprizov for a second. We put the over-under at 45 goals and 100 points. I think both Brett and I are leaning towards the over in both categories. How about you? 45 goals, 100 points if he plays at least 70 games?
Yeah, I'm absolutely. Yes.
Okay. What about tonight? They get to open up in St. Louis. Again, I talk about Colorado. I talk about Dallas. To me, that's the class of the Central Division, but that's not a slight to St. Louis. We know how tough they are night in and night out, and I'm sure it'll be no different tonight. What should we expect tonight as the Wild drop the puck on game number 1?
Well, St. Louis might have the best coach in the league in Jim Montgomery. He is fabulous as a head coach. That team they're playing tonight is a very, very solid team, not a great team. They're a lot like the Wild, to be quite honest with you. I think it's going to be a good game. I hope Jimmy Snuggerud gets 2 goals, but I hope the Wild get 3. How's that?
I like it. And if I can make one more, if we're going to make pleas, I would really like to see Ryan Hartman and Jordan Binnington finally go toe-to-toe and just get it out of their system. Don't you think?
Sure, why not? Have some fun.
Absolutely. Patrick, it's always fun to hear your voice. I can't wait till we get back on the air for Beyond the Pond. Who knows? Maybe we'll have some wild fan lines coming up. You know what? Anything's on the table as we open up the new regular season.
Whatever you need, Kevin, I'm here for you.
Are you on the radio tonight? I should have asked you that with the big matchup.
I am off tonight, and we will be on Fox 9 Plus, 5:30 pregame, 6 o'clock start tomorrow night.
I can't wait. I will be in front of my TV. I will have my eyeballs next to the TV screen, listening to and watching every word that comes out of both you and Jim Rich as we watch another season of Golden Gopher hockey. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That is the great Pat Micheletti joining us here 9 to noon on FM 100.3 The Fan. We got 1 hour in the books, but a whole another couple of hours coming your way, including more trips to St. Louis. The voice of the Minnesota Wild, Joe O'Donnell, joins us next hour. Michael Russo joins us about 1 hour from now, and we'll wrap things up with Cal Clutterbuck, a former member of the Minnesota Wild, now working for the New York Islanders and on their television broadcast. So he's going to be our NHL insider. But when we continue, we're going to talk about the World Juniors. Dave Fisher next on The Fan.